Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is the End Zone Scoop. I am Dana O'Gorman. That is Shona Duthie. How are you guys? How is everyone out there today? It was a wild damn week in football. I'm telling you,
Oh,
I looked halfway through Sunday. I was like, what is happening? Everything is weird. Teams that are supposed to get destroyed are winning. The quarterbacks that are good are terrible. Like it was the most, but this season has been bizarre. And I feel like, Shona, I feel like I have said this every single week on one podcast or another. This season is wild. It makes no sense this year.
honestly, I had to do like a double take. Like, you know that guy, you know that meme where it's like the guy's looking back at the girl and he's like, "Ooh," I wasn't like that. I was kind of like a, what is going on in New York? Like, do they have like better water now for their pizza? I don't understand.
I don't know either. I can't understand. Listen, both New York teams are not supposed to be good at the same time. It's like the law of the NFL. I don't even know what's going on. The Jets beat Green Bay. What in the
Right?
hell? I can't. No.
I don't know.
So we are going to look at a lot of. We're going to look at some of these games today. We're also going to talk about these couple of quarterbacks, this handful of quarterbacks who they may have hit their end. We might be seeing the end of a couple of eras, and I want to talk about that a little bit. We're also going to talk about just some general NFL news. We're going to talk about the Devontae Adams shove. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the new Deshaun Watson information that has come out. We are going to talk about the Seattle Seahawks defense because Sean and I love Seattle, but mostly because this is part of the bizarreness. They just flip it on a dime. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's strange. And then the fact that Tua back there in Miami might be back this week.
Yeah,
It's strange.
I
Like
know.
it's week 6. And the Our Turf girls and I always say, you don't know who a team is until week 6. Well, I still don't know who half these teams are because they're acting not the way they're supposed to. Dang it. There's a script. You should follow it. So anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. Is Ron Rivera the quarterback? No, he's not invited, Graham. He's not invited at all, for sure. Thank you guys so much for joining us. All right, everyone. So, Shona, when you look at, let's start with these games this week. There were a couple that kind of went to script the way you thought it would. I'm looking at the Colts. The Colts were supposed to be good this year. I actually had them winning their division. They actually ended up beating the Jacksonville Jaguars 34-27 in a killer game for Matt Ryan. Holy cow. He just went to town
Mhm.
this week, which was nice to see for him. The Bengals and the Saints was a beat down, between the two of them, but the Bengals end up winning that one 30-26. I'm looking at some of these. We expected the Rams to beat the Panthers. Didn't look like they were gonna until the
No.
second half. They managed to win 24-10. The Vikings and the Dolphins, we knew with the injuries that the Dolphins had that might be a tough game for them. The Vikings end up winning 24-16. The game of the week, without question, and Sean, I don't know if you watched it or watched highlights, was the Chiefs and the Bills. It should have been a primetime game. I was informed that CBS refused to give up that game. And so they made it their only game. So it would be nationally televised, but in the middle of the afternoon on a Sunday. That game should be prime time anytime these two quarterbacks are going at it.
Absolutely.
That game was a lot of fun and showcased the really good of this league because there's not a lot of good going on in this league this year.
That game for me was the game of the weekend. You know, it actually showcased how good like both quarterbacks are. It wasn't just
Mhm.
Josh Allen. He threw for 329 yards and 3 touchdowns. Mahomes also had a really good game. So it wasn't just it wasn't a complete shootout, but it was like these guys were like, look what I can do. I'm gonna show that these guys, this team, that I can win. Obviously the Bills got that really sweet, measure of revenge for their overtime loss in the playoffs last year. And I'm
Mhm.
just so happy for them. They've got this they've got that win now. They needed to beat the Chiefs, and I think I talk about this on the podcast all the time, but the Bills have got really like massive place in my heart, and I just really, really, really want them to get to the Super Bowl.
Right. And I predicted that the Bills would win the Super Bowl this year. I predicted they'd win last year. And I think if the playoff seeding would have been different, there was a very good chance that that was going to happen. Because it was a fluke that they ended up getting the Chiefs, before the AFC Championship. I mean, that just comes down to seeding. That's why
Absolutely.
you never know when it comes to the playoffs. I loved this game. I loved everything about it. I loved that you could see the strengths and the flaws in both teams. I feel like that these quarterbacks were determined to win for their teams, but it was such a good time. It was so much fun to watch. So if you guys didn't get a chance to watch that game, please go back and watch it. It is the creme de la creme of football right now. It was so good. Let me tell you what wasn't the creme de la creme of football this week. So there were some games that made no sense at all. Someone want to talk to me about the 49ers and the Falcons? Now, I am not disparaging.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm not disparaging the Falcons. The Falcons have been a better team than anyone gave them credit for this year, right? And anyone gave them credit for. They beat the 49ers, who, without question, have the best defense in football. I think that's most people would agree with that. Beat them 28-14. Are we now starting to see the Jimmy Garoppolo that we kind of were used to before? Or is this just the Falcons being better than anyone gave them credit?
I mean, I'm going to agree with Graham here. I think the 49ers did get bullied by the Falcons.
That's a good word.
And they just couldn't overcome the 2 interceptions by Jimmy Garoppolo. And then there was also a fumble that returned a touchdown for the Falcons. So I think they got on top of them. And I've said this about Kyle Shanahan's play before. If people can work it out, they are easily, like, the offense is easily broken down and easily not being able to charge forward. I've never been a big Jimmy G fan. I mean, he's good looking, but that's about as far as it goes for me.
My friend Michelle just calls him gorgeous. Well, gorgeous played okay this weekend. That's what she calls him.
Like, he's okay.
He's fine. I don't know. It was an interesting game. I don't think the 49ers fans expected this at all. I thought that they assumed they would win and they would stay on top of the NFC West, which the NFC West is chaos this year, because the Rams aren't near the team we all thought they were going to be. Still good. Not saying they're not good, people. Don't come after me. I'm just saying that we expect them to be super dominant, and they have not been. So this was interesting. It showed that even good teams can be beat. The other one, again, I'm not disparaging the Jets, but if you would have told me week 1 the Jets were going to beat the Packers in Lambeau,
oh my God,
I would have laughed. I would have told you were crazy and that you were dreaming and that you were a homer, because this game was not at all. And we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers here in just a little bit. But here's the interesting thing. When Robert Saleh took over this team, Shona, I really thought he was going to be the guy that could turn it around, that he would end up being the guy that would figure this out. He was fantastic in San Francisco. He really knew defenses so well. I liked him. I liked the way he coached. But we knew it was going to take him a couple of seasons. And I remember saying that when he was hired, that I hoped they gave him time. I hope this wasn't going to end up being what happened to so many coaches, where they're given a year and a half, out they go, right? And so that they seem to have stuck with that, and it is paying off, hugely. I don't know that you could talk more about a rookie than you can Sauce Gardner. He's been amazing for them, but it's not just him. It's even the line. It's the quarterback. It's the receivers. They're all starting to come together in a way that I thought would take at least one more year. It was so impressive.
Yeah, I think, when Saleh came last year, I always knew, like you say, I always knew he was going to be a head coach, but the players didn't buy into his, how he wanted to play, his vision, his sort of philosophy. And this year he just completely stripped to all bare, got in this rookie class, and they're wanting to play for him. Like, they want to play for this guy who, has these brilliant ideas. And I was saying this on another podcast yesterday. He's so infectious on that sideline. Like, he is a dominant figure that you'd want to be like, yeah, hold on, Salah's going to run down quicker than me if I don't get to that end zone. So I'm going to have to get there quicker than him. So
True.
Yeah, I think he's brilliant. I've always been a fan of him, and I was
Mhm.
a fan of him even at the 49ers. Like I thought he would be a really good coach. And I'm just so
Mhm.
glad the Jets have gave him a chance because they're now 4-2 for the season. This is their best 6-game start since 2015.
That's crazy. That's
That's insane.
crazy. I know. I'm so excited for them. And I'm excited for the New York teams in general. And my sister's been a Giants fan most of her life. And so it's kind of funny to hear her finally excited about this team since Eli left pretty much. But I'm excited because those New York fans, they're dedicated. They will hold on. They are loud and obnoxious and will rip you apart on social media and in the newspaper, but they are loyal. And then so I'm very glad that they get finally some time to go ahead and kind of crow about their teams.
They're
What's
5-1.
interesting, I
They're
know,
5-1.
the New York Giants with Daniel Jones as their quarterback.
Oh yeah, but come on, it's Barkley, isn't it? Like he's the
It
one
is all
that's running
Barkley.
that
It
show.
is.
He's the
It
one running
is.
that show. Like
Oh, I know. They beat the Ravens 24-20. So that was an interesting game too. Lots of penalties in that game. It was I think the Ravens have more holes than a lot of people thought they did. Lamar Jackson is not one of them. He's been playing very well, but I think that there are a little bit there's more problems there than people initially thought at the beginning of the season. But the Giants, man, they're just taking advantage right at the end. And I thought when they beat the Packers in London, I thought that was kind of like they were going to get up for that London game, right? Like they were like, okay, we're going to do it. But then they did it again and they just keep doing it. And
yeah.
it's been so impressive. Fingers crossed Barkley stays healthy because if he doesn't, I'm afraid
Yeah.
their dreams will end rather quickly.
I was just gonna say, and he yeah, like I said, he is the main man. And, you know, he unfortunately he is quite prone to an injury, so you know you got to hope that he stays healthy. But yeah, I just they came back. They rallied from a 10-point fourth quarter deficit as well. So it's like
Mhm.
we're not seeing the New York of old, where the Giants of old, where they'd be like, do you know what, we're losing, and
Mhm.
that you know that's it. We're kind of just going to sink into the background and we'll ride out this loss. They're like, no, we can make up these 10 points. Let's show the team,
Mhm.
you know, these teams what the Giants are made of, with Daniel Jones as their
Daniel
quarterback.
Jones. Do you remember I said I've been reminded of this multiple times already by lots of people. I said Daniel Jones will be gone by week 4 and they'll have Jimmy Garoppolo head- as
Oh
their
my god.
QB. Well,
Yes,
obviously
I
that changed
remember you
because of
saying this
Trey.
about the start of the season. But I mean, you know, he's still average. He's a bit beige.
Fair.
He's
Fair.
he
It's
is
pretty
like Kirk
beige.
Cousins, you know?
Yeah.
But
But he's
he's
doing
got
what
good
he needs to
performance.
do to get the
Yeah.
rest of the team where they need to be. And so I think that Graham was right. I think that the coaching staff has a lot to do with that. So kudos to them. The Seahawks Cardinal game was the Seahawks won 19-9. That was a defensive game. We're going to talk about the Seahawks defense here in just a minute. I don't think that anyone who's been paying attention to the Arizona Cardinals was surprised by that game. And sadly, they lost Hollywood Brown. I think at least 6 games, I think is what they said with his ankle injury.
I think they
But
said yesterday it could be the whole season.
oh, I thought the new MRI came back. It wasn't so bad. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
He's gone for a while, which luckily they get DeAndre Hopkins back, which will be a boost. But that team just is not well put together. That Kyler Murray is still Kyler Murray and he still has talent, but there just seems to be a whole disconnect between that entire team. And so I don't think anyone was surprised by that. But maybe, I mean, people keep thinking the bottom's gonna fall out of Seattle here anytime. But so once again, 3 teams in the NFC West, all at 3-3, and then the Cardinals at 2-4. The Cowboys Eagles game was a lot of fun to watch. I really thought I couldn't believe the Cowboys were basically getting blanked in that first half, but then they came back in the second half to make a game of it. Eagles won 26-17. And then the Broncos Chargers game last night. I think that there needs to be a petition that the Broncos need to not be on primetime. And I guess they still have like 4 more primetime shows or games or something. Oh, it's not pretty. Yeah, I know they do. Graham, I don't know why. It was planned before the season. So I guess we have to look at pretty soon they'll start to be able to flex some of those games, and I'm pretty sure
Can I
that they
just
will.
say, who thought it would actually be Russell Wilson who would give us a really good first round pick for the draft next year to get a new quarterback?
You know what?
Who knew?
It's fair. Who knew? Who knew? So yes, this was a fun week. It was a little crazy. Next week, you look ahead to week 7. I think there's only one game where both teams have winning records, so it could be a little bit of a snooze fest next week. But there's a couple good games. There's a lot of divisional games, so that'll be fun. The Chiefs 49ers game will be interesting. That will probably be a good one to watch. So we'll have to see how that goes. But Browns Ravens, that one's always interesting, although the Browns are a mess. All right, so speaking of the Browns, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some NFL news. There was another lawsuit that was filed against Deshaun Watson this last week. The NFL has come out and basically said they're not going to do anything with his suspension or any of that, his fines, until after there's more information. I don't know that these type of suits will stop anytime soon. But John, I want to know for you. Let's say, so we have this suit that has just come out. Then maybe let's say another one and another one. Do you think the NFL should change this season's his suspension this season for those, or do you think that's something they need to look at maybe into next season?
It's a good question, but to be honest, I don't think Deshaun Watson should be playing in an NFL jersey ever again. In my opinion. I said this on another podcast yesterday. When does it come down to, franchises being like, you know what? I actually don't want this guy on my team. I don't need this guy on my team. I don't need to, yeah, he is a good quarterback, but I don't need that news and that like sort of stench around my franchise, because, the Browns have became, the most like disliked team in the NFL. Like and just literally because they're, waiting for this guy to come stop serving his 11-game suspension. I think he was able to get into the training facilities since like August to obviously be able to, facilitate himself with his new surroundings. This is two dozen women who've previously claimed he was sexually inappropriate. Yes, he settled these outside of court, so we don't know the whole story. Obviously, it was a civil suit that he settled. But that to me just makes you guilty. Like it's you've paid them off.
Not always. I get it. I get it from a woman's point of view. I get that, but legally, no, that just means that you want it to go away. And so that everyone can move on. So I get that. But here's my thing. I don't know that this new suit should affect his suspension this year. I agree with you. If it were up to me, Deshaun Watson wouldn't play football again. But I don't know that it should do it this year. I think that they can look at it because it's technically new. They've already ruled on these ones. This has to be a separate case. And so I think that's probably what the NFL will do. Here, the bigger question, though, has got to be, yeah, that's true. Poor Calvin Ridley. But so here's the real question, though, is that what is Deshaun Watson going to look like when he comes back? Yeah, he looked okay in preseason. It was preseason. Like no one's really playing. He hasn't played football in almost 2 years now. I mean, it's been forever since he has played football, and we don't know what he's going to look like. The team has a lot more problems than just their quarterback situation. And so I'm not sure that he's going to come back and be this huge saver. The Browns lost 38-15 to the Patriots. I mean, that's not a little bit, right?
No.
And so I'm interested in seeing what kind of impact that those fans who are being so supportive and the team is, what kind of impact. Is Deshaun Watson an insanely talented quarterback? Yes, he was. We don't know what he is now. And it might take him a full season to settle back in again. We have no idea. But if that is interrupted again because of new allegations, I would think the Browns have got to be like, well, but they won't. And you know why they won't? Because they guaranteed his entire contract. He will be there forever.
I mean, it's just bad. It's bad management, to be honest. It's completely bad management from the Browns, because they've got to be sitting there now and thinking, okay, this is one lawsuit. How many more is going to come out? Because there could easily be a few more.
Sure. But again, I think that the NFL is going to look at it that they've got to take it. Yeah, they've got to take it as a new situation, even though it's based on the same thing.
But, Colin Kaepernick doesn't get to play in the NFL because he took a knee. Don't know why Deshaun Watson's back.
You know what that's all about. So, all right. Well, let's move on. I think everyone knows how we feel about Deshaun Watson, but let's talk about Davante Adams. So, last week when the Vegas, I call them Vegas Raiders, but Las Vegas Raiders, played the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. It was a tense game. that rivalry is pretty serious. So there's a lot of emotion behind that game. After the game, Davante Adams was walking up field, obviously hugely frustrated with the way that the game ended and the things that went on in that game. As he's walking through the tunnel, or to the tunnel, a photographer assistant, by the way, was walking and literally walked right in front of him. And Davante Adams shoved him out of the way. The man fell down. And now he pressed charges against Davante Adams. And of course, he's suing him. I want to get your thought on this, Shona, before I give you mine, because mine is not popular. But go ahead.
I don't think mine will be popular either because,
Oh, good.
I mean, it was like the guy who ran on the field and said, I got shot by Bobby Wagner. Well, yeah, you were doing a gender reveal in the middle of a game and you claimed a lawsuit. Like, what do you, like, you know, and anyway, I could rant about this until the cows come home. And also, like, Adams actually did apologize afterwards. He was very remorseful. You know, he said, like, he didn't just, like, blow it off. He did say, like, yeah, I shouldn't have shoved the guy, but, you know, he explained the situation. He was, like, frustrated and he walked in his way. And I feel like sometimes this is not going to be popular, but I do feel like sometimes when I'm reading more into the story, people are looking for a reaction from these players so they can take a lawsuit out on them.
Oh my God, this is why we're friends. This is why we are friends, people. This is it. Okay, so here's the thing. If you've ever been on an NFL field during a game, you know, as the players are coming in and out of the tunnel, that you are not supposed to be in the tunnel. Most of the time they have ropes or that sort of thing. And obviously after the game, it's a little more chaotic, right? People are coming and going, blah, 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 blah. But I've been on the field a couple of times, and every time you go to walk in front of the field, they will stop you if there's a player anywhere around. But this was the away team, wasn't it? It was not the Chiefs. I guarantee you, no one's walking in front of the Chiefs players in Arrowhead. So, first of all, he should not have been there. Does that warrant him shoving him? Probably not. I mean, he was mad, and he pushed the guy out of the way. The guy stumbled because his hands were full. And so we have to remember he's probably a little off balance. Yep. Graham's our friend too. And so, but what's interesting to me is you see the guy fall down and you see him get right back up. Right. And he walked away. So apparently then he had to go to the hospital. And do you know what they diagnosed him with? Or at least what I read they diagnosed him with, because HIPAA laws, obviously we don't know exactly what they said. He had a possible minor concussion. Possible minor concussion. You can get a possible minor concussion by stepping on your brakes in your car too hard. I'm not trying to dismiss that this guy maybe felt that he was hurt, but it just feels slimy to me. It just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel. There were people like, he should go to jail for assault. Well, I get shoved at every single concert I go to. Does that mean I get to sue every single person that shoves me? No, I get bumped into and shoved walking down the street. Have you ever walked down the streets in New York City? Every single one of those people, I just can't. I can't do it anymore. So he said he was sorry. And then it's a misdemeanor assault or something. It's $250 fine. And I think that's all he'll probably get. I think that people will see through that pretty quickly. But then it's, that's the civil lawsuit. It just feels like a money grab to me. I don't like it. But there's lots of people on Twitter who really think Davante Adams should get in a whole lot of trouble for shoving a guy that walked right in front of him as he's walking out of a game.
I think I said this yesterday as well. Like, the NFL can't really do much because at the moment they're like, yeah, like Watson, you've sexually abused and potentially sexually abused another woman. Like, we're not going to do anything about it. So, Adams, you've shoved a guy with a 6-game ban. Like, you can't. There's got to be consistency with the NFL. And there never is.
I think he'll get a fine and he'll get warned, and I think it'll move on from there. At least I sure as hell hope so.
Graham said, I do stuff in the heat of the moment. Like, I remember my brother really annoyed me one time, and I smashed his favorite bank, the money thing that you put your change in. It was like a football boot with his name on it. I just snapped it. I just smashed it. I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
No. I don't know. And here's the thing. That's anyone who is in the public eye, as the NFL players are, NFL coaches, all of that are in the public eye. They're always going to be targets for this sort of thing. Do I think the guy planned on walking in front of Davante Adams and being shoved so he could do this? No, I don't think so. I think the guy was not really paying attention. Devontae Adams made a emotional reaction, as Graham said. And the guy wasn't hurt. I don't know. Not a popular. I got reamed on Twitter for that, but sorry guys, just
It's
don't care.
okay. I'll also
Get
get
over
reamed
it.
now on Twitter, so
Yeah.
you can just be, you know.
We can just say, get the hell over it together. Okay. So I want to talk. Let's talk a little bit about the Seahawks defense. So the Seattle Seahawks have been known they had the number one quarterback in the league up to the beginning of the team. I think he might be second or third now, with Geno Smith. That was shocking. The offense clicking on all cylinders. No one expected that. Sadly, Rashad Penny goes down with an injury. Heartbreaking. Kenneth Walker, the rookie, steps right up. Monster game. Right. These are all things that were unexpected this season. What was expected this season is that we expected a really good defense. They had all these pieces in place. Things were going well. New coach. Then Jamal Adams goes down, and I think that he was a huge part of this defense. And the defense has just been sputtering. We know there's a new scheme in Seattle. They're changing things up. It's the first time they've really changed things up in a decade. And it was having a hard time having these players kind of settle in. Interesting, though, last season, I think it was 20 and 21? Yep, 20 and 21. Historically terrible defense until week 6 or 7. Light switch. Everything changed. They've done it. This will be now the third year in a row, if this uptick continues, that the Seahawks defense has managed to spin it around mid-season and finish in the second half of the season as a really good defense. They were allowing 400 yards a game or some ridiculous number. I can't even remember. 430, and the second most points per game at 30 points a game until the Cardinals showed up. And then out of nowhere, they held the Cardinals to 315 total yards and kept the offense from scoring and the entire game except for one field goal. 3 points. It was so fun to watch. 4 sacks, I think they got on Kyler Murray. It finally looked like everyone was settling into place. The players that Seattle fans expected to see do well this year, Jordan Brooks, Darrell Taylor, that were struggling so badly, stepped up. And then, of course, there is the shining star that is Tariq Woolen, the rookie who is now in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year. 4 picks in 4 games. Amazing. Fumble recoveries. He's been playing like a hopped up Richard Sherman. It's been amazing.
I was just gonna say Sherman is loving this guy as well.
He loves it.
He loves this guy. He's like comparing, like he did that whole like comparing pictures thing of like, you know, switch from wide receiver to cornerback in college, and then like the 4 interceptions. But you've also got to give credit to fellow cornerback Kobe Bryant as well, because he forced his 4th fumble of the season and had a season high 8 tackles. The rookie class, I think Seattle did draft well this season. It was a bit more like quiet. It was more muted. They were picking where they actually needed to pick. And then I think that's one of the reasons why they're 0.500 for the season. I think that is why, is because their rookie class has definitely stepped up for them. But it was, 9 points. They kept the Cardinals to. I know the Cardinals are having like an off sort of season. It's like up and down a wee bit. That is stepping up big time in week 6.
And we have to remember that the reason they got those 6 points after the field goal was a huge mistake, again, from special teams in Seattle. I know that is now a huge issue.
What is going on with Dixon? I want to know.
I was just so angry with him. Okay, it was obvious. And Nick Bellore, Seahawks fullback, took full blame for it. He said, his blocking was wrong. He had a free run up the middle that should have never happened, and it was his fault. Okay, great. What was Michael Dixon's fault was the fact he didn't just drop on the damn ball and take the safety. It was 2 points versus 6. It's like, okay. And granted, they missed the extra point, so it was only 6 points, but all he had to do was drop to the ground. Some reason in his head, and this is probably because he's been so good for so long, I'm assuming he thought, I'm going to try and get this off if I scramble to the side, because he's done it before. We've seen him where he has a rusher coming at him. He's kind of scrambled to the side and still managed to get that kickoff. Heck, he had 2 kicks in one play that one year, last year, but you just need to drop and take the safety. And so there's some special teams things going on there. I don't know if they're trying to be too cute or what they're trying to do, but it's so frustrating to me because your special team should be basics, and that's real frustrating to me. But otherwise, defensively, even offensively, the team, he wasn't on fire. Gino wasn't on fire like he had been for the Saints game or the Lions game, but still played a really good game. And Kenneth Walker looked fantastic. So the team actually played really well, but that defense.
Loving the Kenneth Walker. Loving.
I know.
Love, love,
I
love.
know. I'm so glad so far I got that pick right because I was real excited about that pick. But I think that it's if Seattle can maintain this level of defense, which is still not perfect, they still had some problems. They still were missing some tackles. Oh my God, the first quarter tackles, I was going to kill somebody. But I think that this team will have to be looked at very differently. And I was going to say something that you have already said. Denver could end up giving us the higher pick than the Seahawks pick, which is not anything any of us expected.
No, not at all. And like I think I was questioning our O-line a wee bit as well in the Cardinals game, purely because Gino got sacked 5 times in one game, which I think was like the equivalent of how many times he'd been sacked in the previous games, like all combined. So we were missing a key player from the O-line though. I think I can't remember. Is it Gabe something?
Gabe Jackson.
Gabe Jackson, yeah. So he was out. So he's obviously a really big miss to our O-line. So that was kind of like, but then the rookies also stepped up from the offensive line. So like you're missing a key player, but you know you are getting some of the rookies again showing what they're worth and showing why they were drafted.
Yeah, the Seahawks offensive line rookies, Charles Cross and Abe Lucas, they have been stellar, outstanding, well above average all season. They're going to have hard games here and there. There's going to be teams that scheme specifically for them. I think we saw a little bit of that. They're going to be off occasionally. It doesn't negate everything that they've already done, and they still played pretty well, but they just weren't perfect. And we had gotten really used to them being perfect, right? And so I think that it's a good thing. Get some of that, have some film they can look at. I think that they're going to be just fine. So, yep, it's pretty fun. Let me tell you. Zero expectations as a Seahawks
this year, to be honest. So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, the wheels.
And if they lose, you're like, oh well, yeah.
And then I'm like, they're actually so much fun to watch because I don't have this like pressure on myself. Right. Be like, oh my God, we have to get to the playoffs. Like I'm kind of just like, just have fun, see how it goes.
Yeah. If they lose, one step closer to a higher draft pick. If they win, holy crap, they won. Exactly. All right. I want to talk about a couple of quarterbacks that aren't having so much fun with their team. Both Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers lost this weekend to teams they should not have lost to, right? I mean, let's be honest. The Steelers are a kind of a disaster and have been really struggling. And then poor Kenny Pickett gets his start, gets injured, and Mitch Trubisky comes in and saves the day. And so there's lots of drama in Pittsburgh, but Tom Brady still managed to lose. That 2-point conversion at the end, I get it. 2-point conversions are just hard, but the entire game was just a mess. And then you have, Aaron Rodgers, who lost to the Jets and just doesn't look himself. There was this great meme I saw out there, and it was, I don't know, the superhero that's laying on the bed looking at the picture and he's crying, and it said Aaron Rodgers above his head, and it said Devontae Adams, and they're both like, come back, and they're both saying it. It's like, because the two of them need each other. They're not getting what they want out of this year. But I think more importantly, what we are seeing there with specifically those two players is, one, Tom Brady is not in it this year. He should have stayed retired. He's 45. His family is having a lot of struggles, as we all well know now. He missed the walkthrough on Saturday. He's not been around a lot. And granted, in the article I read, he deserves that. I mean, he's a proven vet. It's not like he needs to practice every day. But at the same time, when your team is struggling a bit, then maybe you do need to be there more. But he can't be because he has to be there for his family to try and save that situation. He's distracted. And so he can't be all that he wants to be. They kind of are. That's a great analogy. The Packers are the cheese in a New York sandwich, for those who listen on this. It's hilarious. Well done. I love that. We need to make a meme of that somewhere. Somebody do that, please, for us. But I just
cheesehead that the London Stadium was selling. please.
Exactly. But I do think that with Tom Brady, it is life distractions and his age creeping up on him a bit. And we're seeing that he's smashing tablets, he's screaming at his teammates. And we know that he would get mad occasionally, but this seems to be a theme with him this year. I don't think that this season is going to. And then the rest of the team was called out by the head coach, which breaks my heart because I love their head coach and I think that he's fantastic. And he was like, this team does not care if they win. They're riding on a Super Bowl from 2 years ago. Get over it. And so I think that there's going to be some harsh language from their coach here pretty soon. So we'll see. But Aaron Rodgers is a little different. You know what I think? I think they're both in complete screw it mode. Like they're like, I'm kind of over football. But Aaron Rodgers looks old. When he gets up
Right.
after being hit, he's like creepy old grandpa.
He looks
Do I
like
blame him? No.
Benjamin Button, but the other way around. Like he's like accelerating to the old man.
It out of nowhere this season. And maybe that has to do with conditioning. Maybe he's relying too much on his, South American herbs, whatever it is that he is doing. It looks, I saw a great, where is that? It's right here. It says, oh, this is from the Washington Post. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers look like old, creaky, and cranky men. And that's just it. They're mad. They can't get up off the ground very fast. Aaron Rodgers' thumb is bothering him. Okay, that sucks. We get injuries suck, but it's not just that. He's like stretching. He just looks old. I really feel like, Shona, and this is what I want to ask you. They both should have just called it a day and left as heroes instead of now question marks.
I completely agree because Tom Brady won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. I mean, we kind of expected him to win that with the Bucs when he signed for them, and you saw that momentum coming. And then obviously they had that playoff loss last season, and then he left, and you were like, do you know what? Yeah, it's not great that they lost in the playoff, but they still got to the playoffs, and he won a Super Bowl the year before. Rodgers, with all his controversy last season about being inoculated / someone just shoved some water over him or whatever they did, I have no idea. And then he still won MVP. So like, I think personally, you won MVP, you won the Super Bowl 2 years prior. Why are you coming back? It's like
walk away on top. Mm-hmm.
Drew Brees did it. Drew Brees walked away on top.
Peyton Manning did it. He won a Super Bowl. He's like, peace, I'm out. See you later.
Yeah, Drew Brees didn't get the Super Bowl, but he was like, do you know what? I'm done. I've left on a good note. See you later. Like,
right.
I feel like that's what you should do. Like, and I feel like these two guys can't let go. I feel like that's what it is. It's like Tom Brady spent a month home with Gazelle and was like, oh my God, I can't do this. Like, this is like my cabin fever. And now I'm coming back. And I don't know. I think they both should have retired. I completely agree.
And I think that, especially depending on what happens with Green Bay this year, and I'm already pretty certain this is Tom Brady's last year. I think this might be the end of seeing both of them. And that's kind of sad because they have been staples in this league for 20 years. Like we get it. We expect great things from them. People age, they don't play as well. It's just that we weren't seeing that out of these guys really, truly until this year. Well, I agree that he doesn't trust his wide receivers, but he's not there extra time trying to make them learn either. So I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan. Sorry, guys.
No, I mean, it's a thing of beauty when he loses, isn't it? It's like, I am so happy. I actually don't care about any other result at that weekend. If I just see the Packers have lost, I'm like, oh, what a Monday.
Well, I can't say I'm that bad, but at the same time, I think that sometimes our assumptions of what we should get out of these players don't always match the product. But with those two, it always had matched exactly our expectations until this year. And so I think, bow out gracefully, boys. Bow out gracefully. You'll still be the greatest football players out there.
The problem is they're not going to bow out gracefully now because they've continued.
They're going to have to redeem themselves, and then we'll have another whole damn season of this. Oh, no, thank you.
Oh, God. Okay.
I know. Oh, it's crazy. All right, everyone. Well, that is our show. Thanks for listening to us, Rebel. We appreciate you so much, for sure.
Don't forget about Tua, Dana.
I did forget about Tua. I'm sorry. Graham would be livid. So I didn't know this. Shona just told me right before the show that they are slated to bring Tua, possibly bring him back this week.
Yes.
Shona, where did that come from? I mean, he's been cleared?
He was cleared last week. But obviously, Miami actually maybe had a slight good PR week where they thought maybe don't put the rookie quarterback back in on Sunday, because that would be bad press. But there's an article out by Deadspin, and yeah, he has been cleared of concussion protocols. He still shouldn't play. And that is my opinion too, because when does the franchise actually start thinking about this young quarterback and thinking about his his future? Because concussions are not like like an ankle sprain or an elbow injury. They can be reoccurring, and you don't know how many times this could happen. And the next hit, every single person watching a game are going to take like a massive inhale of breath and pray to all the gods around the world that this guy is okay. Because
Right.
I can't fathom why they would want to play him. I can't. But I think they're so incensed about having a winning season that they'll just do anything.
Well, I think there's a couple of things that are going on here. Number one, you're going to have a player pushing to play. He wants to play. He wants to be there. He's going to push, and to play because that's what they do. Secondly, you have a team that is paying him a lot of money to play, and so is Tua still on his rookie? Graham, let me
He
know if
is.
Tua is still on his rookie contract. Okay, well
He
then
is.
they're not
He is.
playing him a ton to play, to be quite honest with you. And then you have very questionable backups. One who also got a concussion and one who now has a broken finger or something. And so I think what they're looking at is their options right now of, oh my God, we need him on the field. And what is the PR nightmare going to be if he gets a third concussion in 7 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks? What is going to happen with that? Will then we be required to sit him the rest of the season? In my opinion, if the Dolphins were smart, they would sit him at least 1 to 2 more weeks. Well, I guess that's a good question, but you have to look at it at a bigger picture, in my opinion. But again, the job of the franchise is to win football games. So I get the push-pull. I get it. I just don't know, in my opinion, if winning 1 or 2 more games will outweigh the nightmare that will be if Tua ends up with another concussion within a few weeks of having 2
Well,
in a
this is.
row.
I mean, as you said there, the franchise obviously has a determination and a
Mhm.
plan to win. Like that's their main goal. But when does it become the franchise's aim to look after this young kid? Because
Not their job. It sounds terrible, but it's not their job, and
no, but
I don't agree with that. I don't agree
no,
with
I
the
don't
fact that it
either.
shouldn't be their job, but at the same time, they go by what the doctors tell them, they go by what the player is telling them, and so there is a certain extent that they have to at least let him try and get back out there. Um, I wonder if they would adjust their play and not, run the ball a lot more, greatly reduces the chances of him getting a hit. Um, but that's not his strengths really. And so it's hard. It's hard. I feel bad. I know I've been lucky enough to meet some of the front office people with the Miami Dolphins. They are good, nice people. I mean, you could tell that everyone was really upset when Jason Jenkins died. He was one of their front office people. He was one of the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. He would have something to say about this. This front office is going to have something to say about this. At the same time, they have to fill those seats. They have to win these games. They
Yeah.
have to continue on this. They are paying Tyreek Hill a lot of money. They're paying a lot of these other players a lot of money. And so I get it. It is a massive dilemma, and I'm so glad I don't have to make it, but you're dang right. The minute he hits that field, all eyes will be on him and watching him get hit by other football players. It'll be interesting. We'll see. I'm sure the Dolphins fans are completely split on this, so. Oh, okay. So it says Pickett is practicing again today. Again already. Tomlin has said Freiermuth might play Sunday too. Surely they will. Surely they should both sit on Sunday. I don't know. I don't know. I think you'd leave Mitch Trubisky in there. That's my opinion. But
Yeah, me too.
never thought Mitch Trubisky should have been taken out for Pickett. But you got to do what the fans want to do. So anyway, all right, everybody, that is our show for this week. I'm sorry, I almost forgot Tua. We will be back again in 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, that's like is that the first of
It's
November?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this season is flying by so quickly. It is crazy. Yeah. So we will be back here. What?
8 months away.
Oh, your wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast everything is going. All right, everyone. So we will be back here. I hope you join us again. Always make sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. And we hope that you join us again next week. Bye-bye, everybody.